Thank you, Deputy Speaker. And the Turnbull government is committed to the financial security of all Australians. This was acutely evident in the 2018 budget handed down last month, a budget that builds on a strong economy, an economy now in its 27th consecutive growth year. A budget that supports Australian businesses to grow and capitalise on global growth now the fastest in 6 years. A budget that continues to create jobs, to build on last year's average of 1,100 extra jobs every single day. This is a budget that plans for the future and the future prosperity of all Australians. Deputy Speaker, an essential part of that planning is to ensure all Australians have adequate retirement savings courtesy of our superannuation system. A fair superannuation system with reliable measures and enforcement regimes to protect the hard-earned savings of all Australians. Measures such as placing a cap on superannuation account fees and a ban on exit fees. Changing life insurance in superannuation from being a default option to an opt-in option for those who have low balances or have not received a recent contribution, or those under the age of 25. Giving the ATO greater powers to consolidate lost superannuation accounts into active accounts, and compelling superannuation funds to provide more information to help consumers compare and choose products that best suit their needs. Deputy Speaker, the Turnbull government is introducing a suite of measures to further protect our hard-earned savings and help ensure that all workers get their full superannuation guarantee entitlements. And this bill does just that. Firstly, and this is important, Deputy Speaker, firstly, this government will provide a 12-month superannuation guarantee amnesty for employers to voluntarily come forward to remedy historical non-payment of their workers' superannuation. Those who fess up, those who cop it on the chin, those who voluntarily come forward and make good on historical non-payments will not face the usual penalties. But if they miss their chance, and here's the kicker, Deputy Speaker, if they miss their chance, those employers who do not fess up will be found out and they will face higher penalties. It is expected that $230 million in retirement savings will be recouped for some 50,000 hard-working Australians under this superannuation guarantee amnesty. Some will argue, including the opposition, and we've heard it already from the Shadow Treasurer, that this measure is in some way weakening penalties for non-compliance. Well, nothing could be further from the truth, Deputy Speaker. How the Shadow Treasurer, how the Labor Party, how the union movement could stand in the way of 50,000 Australians recouping their own hard-earned savings is beyond belief. There is no weakening. This is simply an incentive for employers to come forward voluntarily to pay all historical entitlements with interest in full to employees. This measure will deliver a real difference to the savings, financial security and retirement plans of at least 50,000 Australians who would otherwise miss out on a combined $230 million in superannuation entitlements if it were not for the amnesty proposed by this bill. Now, any suggestion, as the Shadow Treasurer implied, that this is letting employers off the hook is patently untrue and wrong. Employers will only get the benefit of the amnesty if they pay their employees' entitlements in full and with interest, and they voluntarily disclose their non-compliance. That is, they aren't already under investigation by the ATO. So here we have $230 million that can be given back to those people who have actually earned it for their savings, 50,000 hard-working Australians, and who stands in the way right now? The Labor Party, the union movement. The very people who purport to represent hard-working Australians are the ones standing in the way of $230 million being returned. It's an absolute disgrace, Deputy Speaker. Secondly, on this bill, the bill recognises that some employees may inadvertently breach their concessional contributions caps when they have multiple employers contributing to their superannuation. This bill streamlines the process and allows employees to opt out of the superannuation guarantee system by applying to the ATO for an exemption certificate to avoid such breaches. Once an exemption has been granted, employees can negotiate higher take-home pay in lieu of these contributions if they so wish. Once again, this measure will provide a practical solution to a very real problem and thereby make a real difference to the financial security of Australians. And thirdly, Deputy Speaker, this bill protects the integrity of the 2016 superannuation taxation reform package. Now, I remind the House that this package was supported by the opposition. The changes before us today will ensure that super funds cannot evade contribution caps by using non-arm's length expenditure to enhance their total income. And this bill also ensures that limited recourse borrowing arrangements aren't used inappropriately to access concessional cap carry-forward arrangements or used to circumvent caps on non-concessional contributions. These measures improve confidence in the system to ensure it is fair, equitable and used for its core purpose to provide income security in retirement, whatever one's circumstances. Deputy Speaker, these people opposite don't have a good track record when it comes to the security of Australians' retirement savings. I do not need to remind the House, or the Australian people for that matter, of Labor's plans to abolish dividend imputation credits and increase capital gains tax as part of their so-called tax plan. As the Institute of Public Affairs astutely points out, all 15 million Australian prospective retirees who hold superannuation accounts stand to be affected. My electorate office has been contacted by hundreds of constituents, Deputy Speaker, many elderly and meagre of means, all worried about their retirement savings and superannuation balances should Labor ever win government. Some of them were, in fact, traditional Labor voters, many of whom were pained to concede that the Labor Party had no idea of what it was doing. And we know those opposite are very keen to immediately raise the superannuation guarantee rate in a historically low-wage growth environment, even in the face of their own so-called experts, the Grattan Institute, for example, warning that it would affect the retirement savings of Australians, particularly low-paid workers. In fact, under a Labor government, the superannuation guarantee rate was projected to increase to 11.5% at the end of this month. And who pays for these increases, Deputy Speaker? It's the employees. The employees pay for these increases with less take-home pay, less disposable income for workers. That's what Labor delivers. And Labor knows that. I really believe they understand that their tax plan is going to adversely impact hard-working Australians. But they were happy, and they remain happy, to see that happen. The Leader of the Opposition knows that all too well himself, Deputy Speaker, because he admitted it back when he was Minister for Financial Services and Superannuation during an interview with Neil Mitchell on 3AW in 2012. Neil Mitchell says, OK, so you're saying that the superannuation increases will be paid for by absorbing money out of the wage increases. Bill Shorten, member for Maribyrnong, that's the evidence. Neil Mitchell, so I won't get a wage, I won't get any more in my back pocket. It will go into super. See, Deputy Speaker, Labor simply cannot be trusted with the retirement savings of Australians. Even rusted-on Labor voters in my electorate of Fairfax are waking up to that. Labor simply can't be trusted to manage the economy, let alone look after older Australians, full stop. Now, the measures before us today, as outlined in this bill, provide for a stronger, fairer and more equitable superannuation system, a system that is sustainable and better aligned to its core purpose as a reliable long-term investment and savings regime that gives Australians a secure retirement. And to that end, I commend the bill to the House.
I thank the honourable member for Fairfax.